All right there, fellow hackers, freaks, computer geeks, and other cool people to attend something like Hope. All right, I'm excited. Everyone's gonna be learning some fun stuff with at my workshop. Right, it's called Python plus Telnet equals. Seriously, that's how you gotta perfect your evil laugh. All right, so. Yeah, so we're gonna learn some neat stuff. All right, so I'm gonna roll right into the next step. But come on now, I'm famous for also. Plus, you probably showed up for this, right? You've heard my world-renowned jokes. All right, all right. So one good computer geeky joke. All right, you ready for this? All right. What does a baby computer call its father? Data. All right, let's do some fun stuff. All right. Thanks again for joining me with this this fun topic. All right, so I'm going to be showing you basically how to use ancient Telnet to create modern bots. All right, might surprise some of you out there. My name is William Paul Liggett, and I'm from junktext. That's my my small company. Anyways, this is obviously that Hackers on Planet Earth 2020. All right. So let's do some fun things. All right. Well, I guess here a bit of background on me, just so you know who you're listening to. I guess. Basically, I'm a full stack developer, both back end and front end aspects, different languages, Java, Python, PHP, web stuff, different databases. And I teach as a college professor at two different places currently. One is at Northern Virginia Community College, and the other institution is called Year Up. It's a nonprofit, so it's pretty cool. And then I'm also doing this company thing stuff too, where basically it's like I have like custom software that I create, or I actually create other educational videos, and there's a whole bunch of things. I don't want to limit myself, right? So anyways, I've done a bunch, worn different mini hats over time. I was working as a back and front end developer and things like that. I was also at working as an IT project manager for like doing that and sysadmin stuff, the Marine Corps. I was doing a lot of that with the U.S. defense and intelligence community. So yeah, different stuff. All over the place. You can see the other stuff, blah blah blah. I got my education at various places, and I got some certs. All right. Anyways, let's go on. All right, here we go. Okay, so since I'm a teacher, okay, that maybe I'll be a little bit different than some of the talks that are at Hope. My thing is, I don't always assume that everybody knows all the details, or say even the fundamentals of stuff. So I'm just going to do a quick breakdown, just on those that are interested but not really aware of what I'm going to be, later going into. That this way they kind of grounded on some stuff that they're not immediately lost. All right. So I'm just going to go over this real quick. A lot of you, this is going to be, you already know this, things like that. But let me just get this out of the way so everyone's on the same page. All right. So basically, I'm going to be showing how you can use the capability called Telnet. Right now, Telnet, which I explained a little bit more in depth, a few more slides from now, is often used to connect to what are referred to as like a remote terminal. But just in case you don't even know what that means exactly, I'm just doing a quick background on what a terminal is. Okay, so because sometimes the newer generation, they're always just used to using a mouse to click on things or something visual, or with their smartphone it's all about just your finger touching some app button stuff, right? So anyways, a terminal, what that's all about, it's properly referred to as a command line interface, a CLI. Okay, and that's used to talk to a computer. Right, so you basically issue commands at it to do different things, and you can explore your computer doing all sorts of kind of fun stuff with terminals. If you don't know much about terminals, start local. Well, you gotta get on this, all right? Because you're missing a whole situation with your computer, all right? Now there is a difference between there's what's referred to as local terminals and then remote terminals. They're basically the same concept. It's just that like local, it's just literally on your computer and you type commands and you're basically talking to your computer. Okay. A remote terminal, it's the same thing. Okay. It's just that you are actually talking to another computer that you're doing that through over like a network. That's what's a remote terminal. Okay. Now, just in case, a terminal can also be called many different things. Okay. So for instance, you might refer to it as like a shell. Could be the command prompt. I'm listening bash. People sometimes say, "Oh, jump on bash real quick." Bash is actually a program, basically also a programming language. But anyways, that's one kind of a shell. There's many of these types of programs, by the way, and this is more popular in Unix-like environments, stuff like that. You might still hear people talk about like DOS. That was an older system way back in the day. The new thing, especially if you're on Windows, say Windows 10 or something like that, it's technically, you don't technically open up DOS. It's actually now called the Windows terminal. And so a terminal, and say especially for different platforms like Windows or Linux or Mac, are similar, but there can be differences of how they are. Okay. I'm not going to go a whole tutorial on terminal stuff. All right, I'm just giving you kind of an orientation of this. All right, now let's move on. I'm just going to show you, so like an example, just in case anybody's still a little confused in what I'm talking about. This is my computer. This is my laptop. I'm running Ubuntu, right? Ubuntu Linux, and this is, especially if you have any Linux experience, this is very common to do stuff like this. And so I just pulled up a terminal. Okay, this program thing, and I'm talking to my computer. So all I'm doing right here is I was in my home directory. That's with this tilde mark thing. Maybe oriented on this. This is my username on the system, junktext. All right, and I call all my computers by like female names, women. Right? I don't know. It's my ladies, right? So the computer I'm using a lot is called Cynthia. All right, I don't know any. I'm not close with any person named Cynthia, so I don't know. So it's not about an old girlfriend or something like that. Anyways, so this is my computer name. All right, so it's saying like my username at my computer name, and then it's saying well, which directory are you in right now? This tilde is just a shortcut for like your home directory. Anyways, moving past that, the $ means I'm not root. I remember that because you gotta kind of like work for your money, so you're not like the most powerful thing. Anyways, that's how I remember it. All I'm doing here is I'm just doing change directory to the root directory, which is like the main directory. So boom, I went in there, and that's why this symbol changed here. And then all I'm doing here, I'm just typing. This is actually ls, not number 1. Okay, this is ls for like list of files and folders in this directory. So a bunch of stuff here like bin, boot, CD-ROM, so on and so forth. These are basically all different folders except for these things in like kind of a different color here, and this is like yeah, something else. Anyways, and I just press space here, give it a little more white space, and then I'm just doing this. You'll see this reference just showcase other concepts in a bit. There's this command you can type where it's just like who am I, which is like the slide that you just saw before. And what this is doing is basically it's just showing my local username, which is just repeating this part. Okay, so anyways, that's why it says junk text again here, and then this is just a flashing kind of blinking cursor thing now, waiting for me to type more commands. So anyways, this, I'm just orienting again. This is just a local terminal. All right, I'm talking to my computer. Now, before I go into the whole remote terminal thing, there's ways to connect remotely to different systems. Historically, what's been around for many, many moons, all right, is this thing called Telnet, all right? So this is an old way, to connect to remote terminals, remote computers. All right. Now the standard port number, if you care, which later in time I don't really care about this as much, because I have Telnet do stuff later. Okay. But the way you would connect to another computer, like you'd connect to a Telnet server, and that server would be on port 23. Okay. It's just more of an FYI. In a port, it's like, you know, a network connection of like which door you're going to, and like a door number for an apartment or something like that, or a business building or something like that. Like door number 23. That's basically what we're doing. All right. And the only thing is, do not use Telnet for connecting to remote terminals, and this is unless case like you have no other option or something like that. This is not what I'm going to use Telnet for. This is not what this talk is about. Okay. That the reason why, and like, you know, any cybersecurity book, they always tell you like, oh, never use Telnet. It's terrible. It's horrible. The reason why they're saying that is because like when you connect to a server and stuff like that, it's referred to as all the traffic that you're typing into that computer is all in plain text, meaning it's not encrypted at all, which is bad because like there's usually a part where you know, before you do anything, you connect to a computer and then you type like your username and password. The problem is all of that is literally sent just over the network. It's like sending a postcard with your password written on it, right? That'd be ridiculous. So that's why you don't do this anymore. Back in the day when people weren't as worried about a bunch of security stuff, Telnet was used quite often actually. All right, but that is not really the situation anymore. So long story short, you don't use it to connect remotely like in that fashion anymore. All right. Instead, you should use something like what's referred to as SSH, which stands for the secure shell. All right. So real quick, let me give you kind of a demo of what I'm talking about here. This is an example of something of like if we were, you could still do this technically. Okay. As long as, you know, you might have to create your own Telnet server to make this happen. Okay. But what I'm doing here, so here's that command line stuff, and what I'm doing is I'm typing, say, Telnet, and then the remote computer's IP address. Okay, so it's like a local area network LAN address thing, and so if there's a Telnet server, which in this case I'm demoing there is, that's all we're doing here. I just have this in red to let you know, like, seriously, don't use this connect for remote terminals. All right. So it goes through the motions, tries to connects, tells some other stuff. Oh, you're on some Linux system, blah, blah, blah. So like in this case, say like, you know, I told you before, my user in my local system was, my username on my local system is junktext. Well, say on this remote computer, I have a different account name, such as cool guy, right? So boom, I type in cool guy. This is all blank here for the password thing. It's a kind of a standard security feature when you connect to like a Linux or a Unix system and stuff like that. So it's not that I have no password, it's just that when I type the characters, it doesn't actually tell you how many characters I typed. So it's kind of enhanced security in that way, right? So this is implied like I typed the correct password, boom, and now I'm like logged in. It's like, oh, well, your last time you logged in was such and such date, da 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 da, from, and like whatever your computer was at the time. This is like my local computer. All right, so the server is 192.168.0.2, and this is like the local computer, like my local machine. Okay, so that's why there's different addresses right there. Anyways, so I connected. It tells me when I connected last time, blah blah blah. Oh, welcome back, you have new mail, something like that. There's ways to read mail in the system. Anyways, that's the gist. Now we're like connected, and we have like a slightly different looking prompt here. So now instead of junk text, it says cool guy at, and then this is like the server address now. Okay, so it's different. And then, but I can still issue like standard commands. This is implying this got like a Linux system. Well, it tells you it's a Linux system. And then so I type, say, who am I now? And it says cool guy. All right. So again, a lot of you probably already know this. I just want to cover this in case anybody's a little bit lost. All right. So just for effect, I don't want to move on from that and not explain this. If you are actually going to connect remotely to a terminal to issue commands, you know, do something on another system, you would instead use SSH. and there's a that's similar. I'm going to do it this way. So it's like SSH user account name because it's different than my current one. So I'll do cool guy at that server I'm connecting to. It goes through some motions. One of the things you do want to, if possible, because you'll get these warning messages like, oh, the authenticity, blah, 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 can't be established. Like, it'd be great, actually, if you just can confirm that this is literally, like, this key fingerprint for that server to make sure you're not, like, connecting to some, you know, kind of rogue machine that's trying to harvest your stuff, okay? So there's, like, another process that you may want to go through before even connecting to, like, legitimately confirm this is, like, the server's fingerprint thing, because it's telling you, hey, do you want to keep connecting? Like, do you trust connecting to this? You know, if all goes well, we'll just say yes. Say we did that. All right. Anyways, so I typed yes, and it's like, okay, blah blah blah. This is, we're gonna trust this system. We're gonna add it to a list of known hosts and da da da. And then here it's like, oh, type the person's password. So it's blank again. It's implying it's the correct password. Oh, welcome back. Da da da. Similar to what you just seen, right? And now it looks like this. Say cool guy, yeah, blah, blah, and you do something similar now. Cool guy. All right. Anyways, use SSH if this is what you're doing. Okay, remote terminal stuff. Now, again, I'm not talking about remote terminals here. Just be clear. Instead, all right. So it's like, well, all right. So why is Telnet still useful? Okay. Again, reminder: don't use Telnet at all for remote terminals. Highly insecure. Don't do that. Now, the point that I'm driving over here, though, is like this big, nice highlighted section. Okay, is that this is what's super cool, actually. You kind of have the power of the internet at your fingertips with Telnet if you know what you're doing. Okay, so that's the thing. Like, it gives you can talk with any kind of system out there, any kind of networking protocol. You're not limited to port 23, for instance. You can connect to basically any port number you want. Okay, like, yeah. So I'll just show, and that's what I'm going to kind of demonstrate for you. You can do a lot of fun stuff. Okay. I think that's my last slide. Let me double check. Yeah. Okay. We got that. All right. Now, here's the thing. Now, it's not really that essential if you're not following along with literally running this program or something like that. But feel free if you want to, though. It's not a hard requirement, because I've designed this workshop / talk so that all people can kind of learn and explore. Okay. But if you want to play around, okay, this is where you know, all the code is out there. I've built a little script thing that I'm calling as this name right here. Now, so this is the actual official program name. Okay, but hey, listen, no, you cannot pronounce it like Telnet Muhahahha. No, that, like I told you at the start, right? You got to pronounce this right. You got to say Telnet. All right, I'm just joking. All right. Anyways, so check this out. You know, this is my homepage currently. From time, you know, I'm going to be updating my site and things like that later in time. If you're watching this video or something like that, you know, 6 months from now, it's not going to show up right on my homepage, most likely. So where you would go is click on, say, software projects, and kind of go from there. You'll find it. All right. So if you are here, just kind of click on this thing. It's going to take you to this other thing. I'll just tell you blah blah blah. This is how you. It's kind of cool, and it's it's just a simple zip file. Okay. It's just currently it's not the most intense program, but anyways, that is and then you'll open up. I'll just show you here, and I'm going to go through this code more. I'll kind of break it down. I actually tried to put like useful comments throughout this whole thing, so you can learn just by reading the source code. All right, because look, all the cool people know how to write proper comments because they're documenting, you know, the algorithm and stuff, right? Because yeah, a lot of you know what you're talking about. A lot of you people think you're cool and hip if you don't write comments. Drive me nuts. All right. Anyways, so that's where we go. Now, before I do this whole demo thing with this program, let me kind of set you up of like how I even got into this whole situation. All right. and some background, right? Because I'm even saying here, like, hey, look, remember, RFCs are your friend. Now, I'm going to pause there for a bit. This whole RFCs, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain that right now, okay? So, the thing is, there's this organization called the IETF, all right? And I'll scroll down. Check them out. Learn about these folks, all right? So the IETF, that stands for the Internet Engineering Task Force, okay? And look, they're even talking about this, oh, something about blah, 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 RFCs, which stands for Request for Comments. If that doesn't resonate yet with you, learn about this, okay? Because look, here's another, if you click on that more, blah, 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 it's telling you, memos, an RFC is, it's memos in the RFC document series contain technical and organizational notes about the internet. It's amazing, like this whole thing, it's like they document, they have like some of the smartest people ever that explain how like the internet works. And there's so many things to the internet, all right? There's different protocols, you know, there's, which is like different ways to connect to computers and like how do they connect? Like what's the breakdown of everything? They literally tell you how this works. You don't even have to pay for it. It's fantastic, okay? So for instance, you say we dive further in. Here's this kind of, here's this search site you could go through and blah, blah, blah. Oh, and check out some of these new RFCs that they're creating all the time and documenting about a bunch of technical subjects that definitely read about, like learn on this stuff, all right? So now, the thing is, what I'm going to be using Telnet, or this program, for instance, is like, so far, like what I have it doing, it's not the most intense design program. I have ideas where you can do kind of crazy stuff actually later with it. But it actually does create basically two different bots. All right. The first one is it creates a an HTTP bot, which like that should hopefully sound familiar, because like when you type in a website like HTTP, and this one says HTTPS, colon / some website, junktext.com, whatever, right? Well, what this one is, and I'm being clear, this is HTTP. This is the insecure one. It's not encrypted. Okay, now when you connect to my site, it's the cool encrypted version stuff. But the thing is, even if you have a encrypted connection or whatever, there's usually websites, they always have an HTTP presence, which is the insecure way to connect to a website. And there's a lot of reasons why, for instance, sites are now using more HTTPS. Long story short, okay, because HTTP and HTTPS, the difference is one is secure and one is not really, right? Now, even if you're connecting to my site and you're not like logging in, all right? It's just that there could be what's referred to as, say, like a man-in-the-middle attack, where, say, you think you're actually connecting to my website where somebody else, but instead you're actually connected to some malicious attacker's computer or something like that, and say they don't like me or something like that, and so they could deface my site kind of indirectly. Like, you connect to them, go into junktext.com, they like change up, maybe my page looks similar, but it's telling them to go like, you know, go F yourself or something like that. And it's like, man, this guy's mean, you know? Well, that's the thing. Like, there are ways you could do that. So that's why a lot, even sites like mine, where you're not necessarily you don't even have to log in or something like that. It's just that a way to protect, say, the brand of the organization and stuff like that. So that's why a lot of organizations are using the HTTPS cool little lock process thing here, nice and secure. Doesn't matter though. That's not what my focus is on this talk, right? Because the thing is, even connecting to the old school insecure kind of thing on a website, you can still get a lot of details. It can be kind of useful, all right? And a bunch of other things, all right? And then after, so it connects, basically this, it connects a website, okay? It is then going to try to figure out like what kind of software, server software is used to power that website. A lot of times they just basically tell you. And so that's what it does. My program goes out, snatches that detail, and then, just for coolness, it then creates an IRC bot. Okay, hopefully you know what IRC is. If not, because I feel like the generation of the day, a lot of them just don't know. I don't, maybe one or two of my students, and I've had like hundreds, you know, of students. Like, a lot of them just don't know what this is. So IRC, it's a way to chat, talk to each other, but it's not like Twitter or Facebook exactly. Even though actually it's just Twitter, all their hashtags and @ signs of things, you know, they actually got all that basically from IRC of how they do things. All right, so I'll showcase later this whole IRC thing. Anyways, long story short, it creates a couple bots. One goes out and does some web sniffing, and then it reports it to a chat. But it's doing 2 bots in that whole process. Okay. Now, so to have a like what I'm doing with this whole program, the Telnet Muhahahha thing, right? It is just automating what you could do. You could actually do manually. It's just kind of, you got to be kind of a fast typer maybe to do certain things or to watch out for certain aspects. So I'm just automating it to do kind of interesting things. Okay. Now, but the thing with that, when I'm talking about like I automated something, what I'm talking about is I first learned more of the details of, say, this HTTP protocol. Like, how does, when your web browser connects to a website, how does that work? That's what I'm talking about. Like, what exactly is going on there and such. Well, that's where I'm pointing to, like, these RFCs. They tell you how this stuff works. All right. So, for instance, if I search for, you know, RFC HTTP, I'm using DuckDuckGo if you're not familiar. It's like Google, but it doesn't track you. Hopefully, I mean, that's what they claim. Anyways, I'm using that. I'm just searching for this. Okay. So I'm saying I want to know the request for comment for HTTP, and this is one of the ones that pops up. Is this 2616 thing? So if you click over here, right? And this is the IETF folks again. I have it zoomed in here just because the text can be kind of small. Blah, blah, blah. A bunch of people helped create all this. Okay. Now, the thing is, though, it actually is this standard that we're looking at, this or this RFC. It says RFC 2616. It's actually old. It's been obsoleted by other ones that have taken its place. Now, and other things have updated a bit and blah, blah, blah. The only thing is, by the way, sometimes these older RFCs can actually be kind of more informative, like more explanatory of some background, and then you could look at like some of the updates and like, oh wait, what has changed and stuff like that. So, but these are really long. Okay. So for instance, this thing, it's actually talking about I'll scroll down a bit more. The Hypertext Transfer Protocol, that's HTTP, and it's talking about the 1.1 thing. All right, and I'll show you an example of this whole. When you see this 1.1, that is basically the version that is described in this document. There's newer versions of this, but this is pretty common still. Okay. Now, this is kind of an older one. This is back in 1999 they created this. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. But there's a whole bunch of stuff. I'll just kind of page down. They give you all... So look how long this is. Table of contents. As you click around. It's pretty great, though. It's like a bunch of free knowledge for you. All right? So, blah, 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 blah. A whole bunch of things. Okay. Something about time, date formats, and whatever. Okay. So, that's about HTTP stuff. And then, let's see. Say it's been obsoleted, and the first one is 7230. Well, I've already pulled that one up too. It's like, oh, now it's 2014. Okay, it's been moved on, but they still call it version 1.1 here. And this is describing aspects about message syntax and routing and da-da-da-da, and a bunch of more text, much more words you could read, right? And so forth. You can go nuts on this whole RFC thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there. Now, let's see here. The other thing that, say, like, I'm telling you, I'm going to create an IRC bot, right? So here is one of the RFCs, and I'm pointing you right here. This is kind of a cool section that I use later. They use this thing called priv message, and this is why I use this RFC thing, because I was like, wait, how do I? Basically, it's like, how do I create like a rudimentary IRC bot? this thing told me how to do it. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is how you could learn how to do a bunch of stuff. All right. And one of the things, say for instance, like, say you're a private message to this other user, Angel or whatever, and they have this kind of, and I was like, I learned about this whole colon prefix thing. Like, it wasn't obvious that you had to do that kind of stuff, which is why I do it later in code that I'll explain. Like, this is where I got some of the details of this whole thing. All right. Now, this priv message thing is a little weird because it's actually it's not just private messages. You can actually send it to like a channel. That's what I'm doing, to have it talk to a channel. Okay, so this is the capability, this priv message thing that you'll see later in code. That's what I'm doing. I'll scroll all the way to the top. This is talking about this is IRC, Internet Relay Chat, and a bunch of stuff, right? So read on that, and then, you know, a newer version, and this 2812 or whatever, some stuff here, blah blah blah. Okay, so you get the gist. It's a bunch of it's like a how-to guide that's free, that you can just learn how the whole internet works. Okay. Okay, so let me show you basically what, like for instance, later I'm going to go into this whole code thing. One of the ones that's kind of fun is actually, I'm not the biggest sports guy, but there's this organization called ESPN. So they you know, football, soccer, things like that. It's a big TV network and whatnot that tracks sports, right? One of the things that's kind of fascinating, actually, they tell you a lot of details that if you connect to it through like Telnet, or even just like regular, basically it's telling your web browser stuff, it tells you this behind the scenes. This is just a comment if you're not familiar with Python. Like, I'm not setting this or anything like that. This is just this is more of a reference of like post-it note. Oh, this is what was reported at the time of, you know, currently July 2020. Over time this is going to change or whatever, most likely, but I'll show you manually how this basically works, okay? Because we'll go into the whole code thing later. Because all I'm doing when I do the code thing, I'm just basically running the code and seeing the effect of it, all right? But I'll show you kind of like the building blocks of like what inspired me to create kind of how my program kind of works, all right? So, like, watch this. I'm gonna switch over to the Telnet, or not Telnet, local terminal thing that I pulled up, okay? It's just called terminal on Ubuntu Linux. So watch this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go telnet, say www.espn.com. Now the thing is, if I just press enter right now, it's gonna literally try connecting to like a remote terminal server hosted on espn.com, which they're most likely not hosting because nobody does Telnet servers really anymore. So I don't want to just stop there. I need to then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the port number 80. This is the unencrypted, you know, insecure HTTP, like where a web browser, a standard web browser would kind of go to. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start typing a little bit fast, and then I'll break it down a little bit more from there. Okay. Because I got to type somewhat faster, or else it can get it like time out on me. All right. So I'm gonna connect to espn.com. Here we go. All right. Now I'm gonna type git/p/1.1 host www.espn.com. Enter. I gotta press that twice. Now what it's saying is a bunch of stuff that popped out at me. All right. Eventually it's gonna time out on me and like blah blah blah, disconnected or whatever. But we can get a whole, what we're looking at here, I'll scroll up here of what I typed on this whole effect. So I basically created a rudimentary web browser. Seriously, just using this terminal thing. That, I mean, it doesn't do much for us, I guess. Or it may not seem like it. So I had to type it like this. What I was typing there was I want to get a page on that server, like a web page on that server. So what I'm doing is I want to get the home page. So this is like root, which comes from Linux lingo and Unix culture, because the internet was created on a Unix system. Okay, back when you know, Tim Berners-Lee was doing stuff at CERN and whatnot. Anyways, so I type this thing. I want to get the home page, and I'm going to be using HTTP/1.1. Okay, which again, remember that this whole thing. Let me back up. Blah blah blah. Look at this. 1999, whatever. That. Oh, and there's Tim Berners-Lee, right? So, yeah, I can see why he's part of this whole process. He kind of helped create a lot of how the internet works, like at least the websites connecting and all that kind of stuff. Anyhow, so then sometimes it's not required, but to be safe, I also throw this in. I'm saying host, like which web host do I want to connect to, because sometimes a server could have different websites it's hosting, and it gets kind of goofy at times. Anyways, that's why I typed all this, and I'm just typing exactly what I typed up there. Okay, so now what it's doing, it's saying, basically don't connect to this unencrypted version of ESPN. As like, say we connect over, I'm just going to open another tab. I'll just do ESPN.com, whatever. So it goes immediately to the HTTPS thing here, okay? Right there, okay? So that's why, and this is very common these days, that's why it's saying this whole thing after all this, like, blah, 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 don't use this anymore. We basically, it's hinting to you that it's, like, go look at the secure stuff. Why you should connect to this unencrypted stuff. They still keep this server alive kind of a thing, just because a lot of the web still there's still a lot of how the web works that kind of defaults to this unencrypted stuff. Okay. However, what we're looking at is a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Okay. So this is all of this stuff. These are all these server headers that get sent back to, say, a web browser, and then eventually we get this page. Okay. So this is actually a HTML code now. It would be the most like boring website ever, because all it would say was moved permanently, blah blah blah. We've moved to HTTPS, blah blah blah, like ESPN.com stuff. And there's some link you click on to click that. Your web browser did not redirect you. Okay. Now that's what we're looking at. Now check this out though. What's super cool about when we connect to ESPN here, and they actually have a lot of details that we could definitely study for other aspects later. But what I thought was interesting is just kind of checking out like what is reported on the server. And this one, if we're going to take their word for it, which seems kind of weirdly specific if they're lying to us or something like that. This might be legit of like the system that they're actually using. So what this is talking about, if you're not familiar, I'll break this down. What it's saying is it's using like this web server. They're using Apache, which is very common. It's a very popular web server software to host websites, okay, web pages, stuff like that. And it's saying that it's currently on Apache version 2.4.6, and it's referencing that it's on CentOS, which is a now it's a Red Hat sponsored system. So it's basically like Red Hat Enterprise Linux, but like the kind of free version basically. But a lot of people still use, very dependable. So it's using CentOS Linux system, and they also support, they might be using a lot of PHP stuff, which is a programming language, really cool programming language actually. And they're on version 5.4. Somewhat, it's, their PHP's up to like version 7 now. Let's see, change me up. PHP.net should be still version 7, right? Yeah, version 7. Okay. But version 5 is, still a lot of people still using version 5 because they can skip version 6 anyway. Anyways, and then it supports OpenSSL, which is like how you could securely connect to it, and a lot of stuff, right? So it tells you a lot of details just on this little line here. Okay, so that's what my program basically does. It goes, you tell it some website to go to, it's going to look for this server header, and then it's going to cherry pick out whatever it tells you. Okay, so this could be really informative for different reasons. It doesn't have to, even, I know, I get it. Like I called my, let me see, I'll close this down. Close that down. I called my program Telnet Muhahahha, right? But it doesn't have to just be evil. It could be just about analysis, things like that. It's just like, what do we, you just want to explore and understand the internet. It's not about just evilness, even though I guess if you were, maliciously, had malicious intentions, this might help you in trying to maybe break into the site or something like that. Now, I'm not suggesting to do that. I'm just saying that, like, this is how you could, that's what I'm saying, that you kind of like fingerprint the system in a way, okay? You're kind of sniffing what is what, okay? So it's giving you some details, because there's a lot of options hosting websites of what you could do, all right? Not everybody's doing the same thing. Anyways, that's what my program is basically doing. You could definitely enhance my program to do a lot more things, because this looks kind of interesting. Talking about all this, talking about CloudFront, like da-da-da-da-da, like a whole bunch of details here, which pretty, in different headers here. There's this VIA thing and whatever. You can see server time stuff or whatever. Okay, so, and that's for this server. Oh, by the way, actually, before I move on, not every server actually, not every web server actually, they don't even, some of them don't actually even report this, okay? Because like I just said, they worry that it's maybe a security issue or whatever, or sometimes they'll actually change this. So like, say it's literally ran on Apache, but you could have it say that it's ran on like I like pie, whatever. Like, you could just type whatever you want, okay? So sometimes you got to take this with a grain of salt when you get these types of details, but that's basically what we're doing. We connected to this website, and my program is looking for this server header and just curious what it is, and then it reports that to a chat channel, all right? And then, yeah, so then eventually it closed out and such. Okay, so that's kind of the background, slow walking down of basically what my program is automating, okay? And you can see I'm not making this up. It's not like baked into my program or something like that. So let's just do it. I'm just gonna connect over on my system here. Oh, I have a so I have a chat channel. This is okay. Just so you know, I'm using so the FNet crowd. I hope you don't hate me, but so this is on IRC. Okay, this is that chat thing, which, like, say, or hackers on planet Earth, right? Sponsored by 2600. Well, I'm connected to their server too. What are people talking about here? Blah blah blah. Ooh, somebody got kicked. Anyways, people talk, right? It could be whatever. And then there's, like, say, Freenode, which is more business friendly. Good resource too. I got a bunch of these channels. That's why, like, say chat. People are talking about whatever. Huh, somebody else got kicked. Anyways, or maybe he's kicking himself, or I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. People are just talking out here. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. Here, like, I'm joined onto this network, this IRC network, because there's different networks out there, and I'm connected to FNet. Again, I hope the FNet people don't hate me for doing this. I just joined this, so in my program it kind of defaults to connecting in this way. This is not my official channel. This is not anything. It's just like, showcase an example, I guess, in the program. So if you join this later, like, I don't really have control of this whole channel. It's not me. Don't get mad at me. This is basically all I'm using it for, is to just kind of showcase that my program can report to an IRC channel. Okay. So that's that. So, like, so for instance, if I just started typing, like, hi, blah blah blah, right? It's just, that's what I'm talking about. You can just talk, okay? Just in case you still don't know what an IRC channel is about, check it out, okay? But my program is it's going to create a bot, okay, and it's going to connect and tell us what we just saw manually on ESPN. All right, so check this out. I'm going to go to my program code now. I'm just going to run the code, okay, and then I could break this down somewhat quickly, because I don't want to spend too much time, since I don't have that much time with my whole talk here anyways, and such. Da 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 da, blah blah blah. So watch this. Let's just cross our fingers. It should work just fine. I'm just going to try to run my code now. See, we're gonna go out there, talk to ESPN.com. It should hopefully get the details, same details we just saw. and bounce over to IRC and report it. All right, so here we go. I'm going to click on run. Boom. Da da da. I'm going to switch over to the IRC thing, okay? Because eventually we will. Maybe I'll kind of go back and forth. There's a little built-in delays that I do intentionally because, well, as you saw, some folks that were like accidentally, it's called flooding the IRC like network. That if they think that you are like you could post too much content. Oh, here's my bot joined on, and here we go. Let's see here. Hold on. Woo! There we go. Woo! Right? Now my bot's gonna leave. Okay, I just have it built in because it's not the most advanced IRC bot right now. All right. So, and then I just have it leave in about now-ish or so. Give me a sec. So that went away. Okay, so that is the effect. That's the coolness of this whole talk. All right, and you can definitely play around with it. Just do a lot of fun things. So what I have it designed to do currently, so I had it connect to ESPN.com. Okay, and then it's just trying to cherry pick out that server header and let us know what it was. Okay, so it's telling us server, like the server software reported, and it's that same stuff before, that Apache CentOS PHP stuff, everything that they told us. So yeah, so that's maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not the most exciting demo ever, but that's the whole beauty of this whole thing. Now, if you decide to change and play with my code later, first of all, it's under the AGPL, the Affero GPL, because I'm a huge open source advocate. So definitely, you can definitely change it. You know, it's got to be. So your changes need to be under the AGPL. You know, keep going with copyleft, because open source is cool. Or because I know other people like saying free software, or you can say floss, right? I kind of respect. I don't like, to each their own, right? Open source or free software. I kind of wish we'd stop having kind of a war between the between words here. Anyways, it's all you can see the code, you can play with it, change it, things like that. Feel free. So yeah, let me just do a quick drill down of my code, because I actually spent a lot of time trying to document this really well. So, and then this is locally. You can see kind of what's going on. It's telling you play by play. So some status updates of what it just did. I'm going to minimize this for now. Okay, so you can see more code. So anyways, yeah, my program, it's actually kind of a short script. What, there's only 118 lines of code here, but that's including, I got a lot of comments here. I did that intentionally so that you could read it flow by flow and know what is going on, right? This all helps me remember, because 6 months from now, if I don't look at this code and I come back to it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I did all this. All right. Even though it seems maybe kind of a simplistic style program, okay, there's actually a lot of engineering that went into this thing. I was even trying to enhance this, because what I think would be interesting later, that if I have more time, to make this actually like a full kind of command line program, and you could do way more than the tippy tip of what I'm even showing here. There's a lot of things you could explore, email servers, or whatever else, like some game server. You could connect to that using Telnet and play with it. There's a bunch of you can do a lot of things with Telnet. You just gotta kind of learn how things work and kind of go from there, right? And so, anyways, the basic flow, if you want to experiment a little bit, is this is the most one of the most critical things is like which website do you want to connect to, okay? And you want to be careful that, like, say for instance, if you go to some resource, like, okay, say I'm going to go back up here. I'll just click on my home page or whatever. So mine defaults, I actually don't use, you know how like a lot of websites it's like www dot whatever. I actually don't do that. Kind of get away from that old school style stuff. And so my primary preferred website, it connects to like https://junktext.com, right? But if we were connecting to, if we were doing this ESPN thing, right? ESPN, notice how they actually do prefer their primary reference starts with www. Okay, so what I would recommend is a tip. you may just want to use a regular web browser, connect to the site, see what is it pointing you to generally. That is when you'll know what to really type in here. Okay, so there's kind of a tip for you. All right, and then so these are just some other examples that have no effect. Anything that starts with this hashtag looking thing in Python is just a comment. So it's just free-form text. So these things currently are not doing anything. I just have done this in the past on these sites, and I'm just telling you what was reported at the time. Okay, so like 2600, they're using Apache apparently. All right. Now this is where you would put in some setting of like, well, which IRC server do you want to connect to? Okay, so this is actually FNet, and I'm doing this because some IRC servers, they're kind of obnoxious to deal. They like want you to connect securely and all this other kind of stuff. I get why they're doing that, but if you just want something kind of easy, and that's what I'm saying, like in this server, it's pretty nice to bots. Like it doesn't really ban you immediately outright and such. This is which port number you're connecting to. Okay, blah blah blah. You can see other things here. This is where you would specify which channel do you want to connect to. Okay, so what I'm saying is IRC has many different channels. So in this case, when I'm connecting to FNet, and it's just connected to that thing here, Telnet, it starts with hashtag here, hashtag Telnet, Muhahahha, right? So that's what's going on, of why everything's working in this case. If you were playing around with, say, 2600's network or something like that, they have so channel 2600 or DEFCON or Hope or my so-called official channel, whatever. I don't really do much. I mean, I just started it like a week ago. Feel free to join on and chat with me later. I'm also going to be, since we have recording this ahead of time, if you're watching, you could also jump on this and ask me questions as you're watching the video. So, anyways, I'm bouncing back over to FNet here, and I just created this channel because you can do that. You can create your own channel, and that's what it's doing. Okay, this is where you'd set that there. Some other details, what you want to call the bot, da-da-da-da-da, okay. And you can read through the code, because like what it's doing, it's just like, so in this case, it is actually going to create a Telnet bot on HTTP. It's using the mat. You can read more on how this all works later. And that's where, remember how I was doing that get/HTTP/1.1? Boom, that's what I'm saying. I've just automated this process, okay. And then that host, whatever you type for the host, stuff like that, and then you have to do enter twice. That's why that's going on. All right. And then all it does is it just waits for 15 seconds, gets some stuff, times it out eventually. Okay, or if you see this message or whatever, closes that out. We got a bunch of details. Okay, and then it like converts all these details to something that Python can do something with. That's what all this code's about. Blah 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 blah. Now we're gonna go through basically this stuff. It's copy and pasting all this text, and then it's going to look for this thing. Okay, so that is what all this magic is about. Blah 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 blah. Like if we found that, that's great. If not, I just have it reported as unknown. Some servers don't have that. Like Microsoft.com currently, if you try to use that, it'll just say you'll get this response back to you. The reason why is not every server even reports this header thing. Okay. Then there's a bit of nuance. Like, feel free to dive into this code of IRC stuff later. It was kind of finicky actually trying to get this all working. Like even just having, oh, I need a space. I need to press basically enter here, but like not here. It's kind of like it was not obvious going through all of this situation here. All right. So, but I was looking at the RFC later to figure all this out. Okay. Blah blah blah. Like it like connects, logs in. I do have it built in some wait times, like sleep for 5 seconds, sleep for 5 seconds, sleep for 5. The reason why I don't want to sit there and ping the server too much, like you know. You want to give it a little bit of time to make it not seem like you're just a bot, even though I am a bot. Well, in this case, right? So more code stuff goes on, and then eventually we get, and that's what I was talking about, that priv message thing when I was talking about that earlier. That's why I use this capability to talk. It's actually talking to the channel. It's kind of a weirdly named private message. Private message to everybody on the channel. It doesn't make any sense, but anyway, that's what they called it. And that's what happens, and then that's why later, you know, my bot eventually timed out because I just had it sleep 15 seconds and then close it out. Now the thing is though, I'm even saying, like, this could be enhanced a lot more. Like, you could make it a true bot where you like tell the bot to do things. Oh, now go check out this website and tell me what that server is or whatever. Like, you could do a bunch of things. Another thing that I was actually working on, which I didn't want to finish up completely, I felt like it might be a little too confusing, is I was actually creating a different version of this whole thing where it actually would connect to, say, like 5 different websites and like get all of those details, and then eventually you'd get like 5 things reported in the channel over here or something like that, right? That's great, but there's a lot of kind of things you got to worry about, flooding IRC, and there's way more code that was going into all that. So I'm like, God, you know what? We're gonna just stick with this basic version right now. All right. So that's skinny. All right. Maybe for effect, let's change it up to something else here. You can see. Let's do 2600, right? Boom. Now I'll just run the code again. Okay. Oh, and what you're going to notice is the bot name. I have it to kind of make so that when you're looking at the chat channel later, you can tell like at basically this is using 24-hour time frame. So at 2:31, that's when the bot got created and eventually reported to us on RFC. It's a timestamp on this bot name. So you're going to see a different timestamp now. So I built it in just to make it, I don't know, kind of more informative. So now I'm going to switch it to 2600, or obviously you put whatever website you care. I'll just run it again real quick. Boom. It's doing some stuff. We can maybe watch. Oh, see, it's saying it's Apache. It's already connecting to IRC, doing some stuff. Joining the IRC channel. Should jump on any minute here. There we go. Now it's at 1443, and then we'll give it a sec, and boom, 2600 server's Apache, and then like I said, the bot's gonna leave us in a sec. So anyways, I hope this was informative, and you can, if you change up the code, make it better, please let me know. Like, make it cooler, things like that. Obviously, you'll get credit for whatever you create. Or if you fork it and you do something kind of crazy beyond this, that's cool. Just let me know. I think it would just be kind of interesting. So, yeah, hope you learned a lot, and I hope everybody has a good day. I'm gonna stick around for Q&A when you're, the folks that are actually connected to the conference thing, and you can ask me any questions or whatever. All right? Okay. All right. Take care.